in. Or they could go for a priority pick on the carry. Obviously, things like Kestrel are picks that we've seen prioritized and taken blind into a matchup.
Yeah, he could go for it, but I think because they have this pedal that they can still flex, I would expect to see their captain pick come through here, saving themselves a counter pick and leaving some question marks for Qlash to try and answer for themselves. It's going to be a captain, though, instead of the Lance, so that's a little bit surprising to me, just in this, you expect Lance because of the fact that Fnatic has played it so much, but Catherine can work against the Rhyme. You know, if she stands on a Winter Spire with the Storm Guard up, it does a lot of reflected damage back to the team and can also provide stuns, which then prevent Rhyme from being able to get more fortified health.
I'm surprised that Qlash actually still picked up the Kestrel, just because I was going to say one of the reasons why Catherine is so appealing there for Fnatic is because going up against the Kestrel, she does very well, and that could have denied the pick. However, Qlash does go for the Kestrel and the Churnwalker. Fnatic could still combine the Catherine with the Baptiste. I think that could be the reason why they went for it and play Petal, Weapon Power in lane.
We'll have to see how this one's going to pan out. Churnwalker coming on through for Qlash, but it's not exactly against a melee composition. We've typically seen that do well in these bruiser-based games, but with a Petal going on into the jungle and Box going into the lane, maybe it can work out for them. We'll have to find out. How are we feeling about these two compositions? Obviously, Rhyme versus Petal in the jungle. How does that one pan out? Because, you know, typically when there's AoE, Petal doesn't do so hot, but melee heroes obviously don't do well into Petal either.
No, they don't. And Petal, if she manages to keep her distance away from the Rhyme, she can do very well against them in the matchup. But if Rhyme at any point manages to get on top of her and surprises her with an ambush, perhaps playing around the vision, then he can easily win the matchup. So it's a matter of who outsmarts the other.
Yeah, and speaking of the outsmarting, there's also the fact of, you know, Rhyme, normally you're trying to get those Winter Spires onto your opponent, but there is a opportunity for him to just put a Winter Spire essentially on top of himself just to try and clear those minions out as quickly as possible and render this Petal like to have almost no damage at that point.
Yeah, honestly, I'm looking at the Churnwalker though, because like you mentioned, it generally does not do well versus ranged compositions, and especially since Fnatic flexed the Petal into jungle and picked up the Vox, they're going to be going up against double range heroes. But at the same time, because since they have a Kestrel who does outrange the Vox, they still have opportunities to win the game, especially comes mid-game once Kestrel starts ramping up where her items. So it's all about execution, really.
Absolutely. And I mean, Churnwalker and Kestrel can be a terrifying combo. That damage share when you've got Glimmer shots raining out can tear people apart. Hashtag Vainglory 8. Let us know who you think is going to take this one. Can Qlash even things up in this series, or is this going to be a Fnatic 2-0? It's time to pass it back to Jaws and Sean Ostino to find out for sure.
Thanks, guys, once again. And Fnatic, here we go. Game number 2. Can they turn this one into a 2-0 like we've seen all throughout today? Sean Ostino now. One thing I want to touch on in this composition specifically before we get into anything is this Churnwalker and how he's actually going to have impact with this Rhyme, because you torment somebody, again, the layering of CC Fnatic have, hey, guess what? Qlash have that too. If they can land a big trespass, that's going to be one dead Petal.
That's very true, Jaws. And it looks like they're taking an advantage early and working on this Elder Treant. It gets stolen away by Net Toilette, though.
What are these captain steals today? Honestly, just a Mercer's Pursuit in there. We've had 2 Sigil steals. We even had a Kraken steal by Net Toilette earlier today as well. And king of securing objectives.
You're absolutely right. Qlash, they have a very interesting situation here with the Churnwalker. We haven't seen that much Churnwalker play for EU, but Churnwalker does have a lot of potential to reposition, and looks like he's getting dived on, though.
He'd have to reposition now as Power Toro and Net Toilette dive on him, as opposed to with Techno JJ. Healing from the chains, though, you can imagine is going to at least heal him up a little bit, hopefully sustain him through the early stages of the laning phase. However, Techno JJ and Net Toilette refusing to letting him move, and even Agony had to respond to the lane push.
Yeah, they definitely had to respond to that and rotate down. Disowned, he's actually had to use his flask right there, but repositioning is going to be very important for him, using those torments to yank back who's ever on the hooks and change, especially Techno JJ. If Techno JJ is out of position, he wants to be on the back line, and same thing with the Petal in a way. They want to be on the back line, but if you're able to pull them towards you, misposition them, stop them from leaving the scene of the fight when they're low on health, then it's going to make Mercilli's have easy target focus and be able to burst them down with those glimmer shots.
Uh-oh. Merciless Pursuit lands on Mercilli's. TennoJJ following up with a lot of damage. Sonic zoom forward. Flask was popped from Mercilli's, so he's alright for the time being. A couple of glimmer shots on TennoJJ as well will send him packing for the moment. But Palmatoro wandering up towards the lane. Fnatic want to make something happen. They want to make it happen early. Getting Palmatoro ahead. We've seen that as Fnatic's win condition before, and especially on this Petal coming up against someone like Mercilli's, he's going to have a whale of a time.
Yeah, he's going to have an easy time. It's going to be easier to find out Mercilli's when he does reposition with his active camos, especially when the Munions are on him. So it's going to be a really interesting positioning game that's going to be going on between Mercilli's and Palmatoro. Could potentially be very deadly. Netwillet, I would expect him to prioritize some scout traps, vision to be able to spot out Mercilli's in the lane. It looks like Agony's going into the jungle with Disown.
Yeah, aggressive roam, but TennoJJ is here as well. Disown is going to use those boots to be able to get a bit of distance. Agony doing the same thing, moving forward with those Winter Spires, who actually got that one. It looks like Palmatoro secured it in the end. So that's just Agony and Disown now backing it off. They need to be able to respond again to this lane push, as Mercilli's was able to push this one out and secure the Elder Treant for herself as well.
It's an interesting thing with Mercilli's on this weapon power Kestrel, because even though she can't stay invisible for that long with her active camo, she can slightly reposition and throw down some active camo traps, and that could be very deadly if TennoJJ wants to come in, dive in a little bit, for example. It could be a very devastating stun.
Speaking of that, they are just going to siege up this turret. Mercilli's fairly low, has 2 weapon blades versus TennoJJ's poison shiv, so they're going to be able to take this one out rather quickly, although a Sonic zoom backwards will not help him as the Trespass or the Torment even pulls him back in. Agony's coming through with the flank. He finds Netwillet with the root. This could be first blood going over to Qlash. It is, and it's going to be secured by Agony.
Oh, good first blood right there. Netwillet, see, that's the thing. He wants to be able to be on the front lines, so he can just protect the carries, protect TennoJJ in this case. But at this early game stage, when Netwillet doesn't have that many Captain of the Guard stacks on Catherine, that's making for a really difficult situation where you want a body block for your carries, but at the same time, because it's such low levels right now, we're only at level 4 here for Netwillet, he's going to get a lot of damage on him.
Disown taking a lot of damage as well. Remember, he doesn't have boots, he does have Flask, however. Agony's going to be here as well. Still chasing this. Palmatoro moving forward with TennoJJ moving down also. Kestrel's nowhere to be found at this moment in time, and that is going to be Agony in a lot of trouble. Forcing to use that Flask. Still no boots. Even Parvis for the sustain. He still managed to be in this fight. He's still surviving. Same with Disown with those double chains or triple chains even. He was able to heal up a lot of that damage he was receiving.
Look at the interaction, Jaws, that Palmatoro and Agony are having. So even though we know that Rhyme can sustain a lot with his fortified health, those Munions are chunking the fortified health down with every attack they make, and it's making it so that he really doesn't have that much fortified health. He's forced to back out of the fights. TennoJJ's going real low.
Oh, pops the Flask. Merciless Pursuit lands on Mercilli's. Disown now moving forwards. That's a nice Torment straight back into the basic attack of Mercilli's. Actually takes out Palmatoro, nets himself his first kill, and that's Fnatic overstepping and losing a member in a 2v3.
Oh my goodness, and they're not done yet. The Torments.
All Torments, and a root does land on Netwillet. They are not willing to take this to a game, well, not willing to take this to a 2-0 to Fnatic. Qlash, they're biting back, and they're biting back fiercely.
Really well done, and you can see there the mispositioning that is happening for Fnatic when they're trying to back out of the fight, when they're going really low. Disowned is just using the hooks and chains and Torments combination. Imagine what's going to happen when he gets to the Trespass. Turret is destroyed, and that's 1 turret down for Fnatic now. Things are looking pretty good. 2,500 gold lead now for Qlash at 6 minutes in, and 3 kills to their name. 0 kills for Fnatic at the moment, but looks like Netwillet's looking for an engage.
Yep, does find the Merciless Pursuit on Mercilli's again. Palmatoro is here, activates those Munions. Another wait for it will land, but it will only land on 1 member, that is Disown. They're just more concentrated now, taking that turret, and they managed to secure it as well. Agony moving forward, has got Valkyrie. Does he want to use it? That's the question. Not quite yet, it seems. 1 shot, 1 kill will go a little bit wide with a hook on Netwillet. Went back inwards, but that Storm Shield will suck up a lot of that damage, and in fact, Valkyrie was used in the end, but Agony just missing it, clipping Netwillet, not getting much off it at all.
Oh not much at all. We do see a Shatter Glass coming out. Oh, they're still engaged.
Oh, they're still engaged. Mercedes is going extremely low. Netwillet and Tenno JJ find him and just destroy him. Agony now in the 1v3, but Disown's got those chains. A beautiful trespass turns 2 members, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Disown's going to just get run down here by Tenno JJ. There's way too much mobility on this box, and Fnatic find an ace.
An early ace at 7.5 minutes into the game. Really well done by Fnatic, just pushing back just when you thought the fight was going in the favor of Qlash right there. And the advantages with the objectives being taken off the board, we're at 4-4 now, and this gold miner is going over to Fnatic, and that's going to put them closing that gap right now, and the gold is almost evened up. But Palmatoro, he's not done yet. He's taking some of that farm away. We see Palmatoro does have a Shatter Glass. That's going to increase the tankiness and damage of his minions. Breaking Point just got picked up by Tenno JJ, so the longer he stays alive in these fights, he's going to be able to output so much damage. In addition to the poison shiv he has, he's going to be able to sustain so well. He's sitting at 2-0 right now. Things are looking good for Fnatic at the moment, Jaws.
Yeah, there's a very quick turnaround as well. In all honesty, I thought Qlash, maybe they just slowly chokehold out Fnatic, but right now Fnatic fighting back, hitting the mat strong, and they will be able to bounce back for the time being. So this is fairly low here. It's going to be a hook landing onto Netwillet, but he is going to be able to just walk away, walk it off. And those mortal wounds we were talking about a little earlier are really starting to come into play. We know how much sustain Churnwalker has, but cannot sustain through a mortal wound. It's going to be so easy for the Petal and for the Vox to take him out when those are applied. And even with Agony, with that Eve of Harvest, that healing will be cut in half. So Qlash really have to worry about that coming into the later stages of the game when Agony needs to be able to actually get onto the back line to be able to do damage with Techno. We talked about the people that need to deal with each other. Agony needs to deal with Techno, while Mercedes can easily deal with Palmatoro. Beautiful Trespass will stun 3 people up though. Churnwalker does have to back off the fight for the time being, but Valkyrie will find Netwillet, slowing him up. Tenno JJ biting back though with a massive wait for it. Lands on 3 people. 1 spontaneous combustion also just rippling through the members of Qlash. Those glimmer shots almost killing Tenno JJ straight up. Will get spotted. Mercedes still fighting forward and fighting back. Netwillet steps up, just sacrifices himself, and he ends up going down.
The positioning game is on point for Qlash. They're just pulling Fnatic around with the chains, tormenting them, and they're forced to scatter in every which way direction. That Crystal Sentry is going over to Qlash. 2 lives remaining on that for the Fnatic Crystal Sentry. Oh man, and I almost forgot about Mercedes here, Jaws. Look at what he's building. He's got Sorrowblade, Tyrant's Monocle. He's working towards another Tyrant's Monocle here. The damage that he is outputting just because he is staying alive in these fights is just absurd. And he was able to chunk down the members of Fnatic so well during that last team fight. And that's where the positioning is coming in. If Disowned is able to hook and chain people, not only is he getting healing, but he's also conferring damage onto the other members when they're getting hit. 30% damage conferred, and imagine the 30% of these glimmer shots going onto the other members of Fnatic. That's just ridiculous.
Only slightly, especially if he gets that double monocle on board. You're hitting 1 target, it hits all 3, and you're like, where's the whole of the team's health gone? There's no splash damage on these glimmer shots. Oh wait, yes there is, because we got Disowned. They are going to be able to flare out to the gold miner for the time being. 1 shot, 1 kill, won't find it. Palmatoro does get the nice body block, so Fnatic secure themselves a gold miner and even up the gold lead once again.
This game could still go either way, Jaws. We're sitting here. The gold is almost dead even at 11 minutes in. 4 and 3 kills right now with Qlash having the 4. And they're still aggressing into Fnatic's jungle here.
Nice little hook onto Netwillet, but nothing will be found of it just yet. And remember how short of a cooldown Trespass is on Disowned. So that's something else to keep track of down there in the bottom of your screen. Now Fnatic playing rather scared, and you can imagine why. I mean, earlier on, Netwillet, I think he blew the Crucible a little bit too early when Disowned managed to get that 3-man Trespass, just worried about the torments and completely forgot you can 3-man stun people if he has 3 hooks landed on you, but that does obviously require setup as well. So if Fnatic can play around that setup time of those hooks, they could be in for a nice team fight. Crystal Sentry will get found. That's a beautiful torment actually, and an active camo trap onto Palmatoro. 1 shot, 1 kill, won't find anybody just yet, and they'll be moving in and marching forward towards Fnatic, whose health bars are blinking. Mercilli's doing a lot of damage here. Net2Let does send out that blast tremor, silences 3 members, but Tenno JJ, they have to completely ignore their captain as he ends up falling. Mercilli's now kiting back. He trades 1 for 1, but it ends up in a 2 for 1 as Net2Let fell earlier in the fight, and now Palmatoro running with his tail between his legs.
Check out DAZN. He has got not only the Crucible, but he has a Dragon's Heart as well, and that's allowing him to have so much health. He has such a great health pool during these team fights, and you know that Churnwalker wants to be in the middle of the team fights. This turret is going to go down. Whew, man, if he's mispositioning everybody everywhere, and Fnatic is choosing to run away from these team fights. We saw Net2Let misposition and run to the east, actually, in the last team fight, and that left Agony to just wail on him, root him up, and finish him off with a Winter Spire. Oh, man, Fnatic has got to be really careful about the next team fight here. War Treads just got picked up by DAZN, so that's going to add to his tankiness, and it's going to add to his engage potential for the team. Churnwalker wants to misposition, wants to be in the middle of the fights, so Fnatic has to be really careful about how they play this next team fight.
They will. Now they're slipping behind in gold. This is a very unlike game number 1, the situation Fnatic have landed themselves in. It looks so good for them, and it wasn't the quickest game we've seen all evening, but still Fnatic really hammering home the point that they are not a team to mess with. But Qlash now, they're biting back, and remember, they do have to win this series in order to try and avoid that challenge battle spot. Gold Miner is going to be contested over, not going to get quite stolen by Palmatoro. Crucible comes out from Net2Let as they try and kite back now. Trespass not available from DAZN, was blocked, and now Tenno JJ sending out the wave for it, hitting Mercilli's, but Tenno also repositioned with the Torment. They're going to go for a re-engage with the Blast Tremor. Net2Let finds the stun onto Agony, but he's going to block it up, and a beautiful Valkyrie will send him to the mists. That'll be Tenno JJ now, and Palmatoro just kiting back. A one-shot, one-kill did land on Palmatoro, so he's very low as well. Are they going to chase it up or focus the Crystal Sentry? Looks like they're going to focus the Crystal Sentry and eliminate it.
This is really looking like Qlash's game. The more these fights go on, you can see the glimmer shots, the damage is just coming out of them, Jaws. They're being pulled in by the Torments because they think they're going to be able to get out and egress from the fight, but they're not able to. Palmatoro, Tenno JJ, they're getting bursted down with over 700 weapon power damage that's coming onto them from these glimmer shots. Mercilli's has a double Tyrant's Monocle, Tornado Trigger, and Sorrow Blade build right now. He is just really dishing out the damage, and Tenno JJ needs to be able to stay alive in these fights. He needs to stay healthy, but Net2Let is going down so quickly, there's no captain to soak up the damage for and protect the members of Fnatic.
He's got a sustain, but he actually needs to be able to hit a few basic attacks in order to actually get the sustain off the Poison Shiv, and that's the problem. And even this breaking point, he needs to survive long enough, and that's just not what's happening. This Kestrel is just destroying the front line, now picking up her 4th offensive item in that Tornado Trigger. Even with an infusion, this is the classic Kestrel build we see, and when it's ahead it's great, but when it's behind it really does kind of suck. But right now she's ahead, and that's exactly where she needs to be. She's 5-2, although her sun does land. Net2Let pushing forwards, and that will be Qlash actually popping the War Treads to keep themselves out of danger for the time being. Now it's on to Fnatic. They need to be able to get on top of Mercilli's, but right now that seems like an impossibility.
It's a really difficult situation here because you have DAZN and Agony frontlining for the members of Qlash. Well, Mercilli's really, they're just protecting him. Protecting the carry in this composition is the best thing that you can do, because then the damage output out of Mercilli's is just astronomical. I'm going to be interested to see what the damage numbers are going to be when we head over to the desk, because it's probably going to be pretty high up there for Mercilli's.
There's the wait for it, and a Blast Tremor laid on top of each other, so that's a big silence. Trespass comes out, it's going to hit Tenno, and he drops like a sack of potatoes. That'll be Fnatic losing 1. Palmatoro now on the front line. This is going to be Qlash just cleaning up the fight. Net2Let just gets pulled back in with the Torment, a Winter Spire to slow him down, and that'll be Qlash with the ace.
Oh my goodness. The ace at 16.5 minutes in. Kraken is on the board. Death timers are pretty high right now. So we should see Qlash go ahead and turn their attention over to the Kraken. Really smart move to separate a little bit, make sure that ace minion wave actually destroys that choke point turret. So that means they only have 2 crystal turrets remaining to get through and push this to a game 3. If Qlash actually wins this game, there's the Kraken on the leash for them, then they still have the potential to get out of the challenge zone and at least match the points between them and the team above them, which I'm not sure who that is at the moment, but yeah, it's going to be great.
Close go series, you can see it there. Through the grit of their teeth, Fnatic, they now have to deal with that Kraken that is marching down the lane, and Qlash are in an extremely good position. And this Churnwalker pick, every time I see it picked up, it seems not uncounterable, but the trespassers you can get off, or you can just the amount of frontline you can provide and the sustain through those hooks just seems absolutely unmeasurable. And now Fnatic are going to have to deal with this situation that they've landed themselves in. Nintendo JJ has got a fair bit of damage at that breaking point, but it doesn't stack off on the Kraken, remember. Net2let go for an engage. There's the wave threat and a blast tremor. Both of them are going to get blocked at the same time, and a trespass onto 2 people straight into a Valkyrie from Agony. Nintendo JJ is out of this fight right now. He cannot touch the back line because he's just getting dealt with solo here by Agony. He's going to duck, dip, dive, and dodge around Disown. Vasilius has now found him, though. A couple of basic attacks will send him to the grave, and that'll be Net2let pulled back in with the Torment, and Qlash find 2 members, and that Kraken has just taken care of 1 turret. It's going to take care of the next, and that Crystal is going to fall as well. They're going to tie this series up 1 apiece.
Oh, Jaws, this tied up 1 apiece right now for Qlash is an astronomical win for them. They had the momentum. Fnatic had the momentum coming into this game, but now Qlash has that possibility, that slim chance to win the next game and to keep heading into this weekend's finals. If they can get to the finals, then Dynasty could potentially drop down and Qlash could get out of the challenge zone. Really well done by them.